Okay, so recording has started. So we are now into session 8 of BW for HANA training pre-session Q&A. So let's see the questions, if any. Let me refresh. Okay, so let me minimize this. Okay, so we have from Shakti, Devi. Let's see. Okay, let's see from Shakti. Okay, so these are the 3 questions. Okay, well, Devi, let's see if you have any questions.
It's an yesterday's Dibanshu.
Okay, so no new questions.
No new. Yeah.
Okay, so that's fine. How about Vijay? Let's see from Vijay, any questions?
No questions.
No questions? Okay. Yeah, all of them were answered. That's fine. Okay, so we'll try to answer Shakti's question and then we'll start the main class. Okay, so first question is how COPA and generic extraction happens in BW for HANA. Any examples? Okay, so these are 2 separate things. COPA is different and generic extraction is different. So for COPA, it is a special set of steps which we have to do in the source side, and that has primarily remained the same for the COPA. You have to generate the data source basically using, I think, an operating concern. If I remember correctly, for COPA, there is something called an operating concern. And you have to first see if an operating concern exists. If not, then we'll have to create an operating concern. That's usually a functional consultant's, an FI consultant's job. So once they have the operating concern ready, then we will generate the data source manually in the source side. So in S4 HANA, what has changed is that now accounting based COPA has taken preference over costing based COPA. Previously, costing based was preferred over the accounting based COPA, but now accounting based COPA has the same capability and now is being preferred, of course. That's the only change, but other than that, from a process and a procedure or a step standpoint, it's the same. You just have to make sure an operating concern exists, then you create the data source, like generate the data source using the fields, whatever you want. Operating concern, when you create an operating concern, you have to choose whether it's an accounting based or costing based. There are 2 types in COPA. And then when you generate the data source, then you can you know, replicate it to the BW side. And then in BW side, everything is the same. DTP transformations, ADSOs, etc. Now, the only thing which we need to make sure is that the ADSO is of type data mart, because the delta supplied by the COPA data source is additive delta. Additive delta means if, say, for example, the quantity is 30 and it changed to 40. So the data source will send you 10. It will not send you 40. It will just send you 10, which is the addition which happened. Or if it is from 30, it became 20, so it's going to send you minus 10. So additive deltas are sent by COPA. So you have to make sure that in the BW side, you take care accordingly, and you should be good.
Devanshu, will we be seeing any examples for COPA extractions or what we covered?
No, COPA extraction is not covered as part of this training. That's a different topic altogether. In this training, we are covering the logistics cockpit extraction, not the COPA extractors or FI extractors. But I can show you if you just want. I can probably see if there is any operating concern already there. So let me log into S4.
Devanshish, for the additive delta,
Yes.
Can we use the standard ADSO or it has to be only the data mart ADSO?
You can use standard ADSO also, but in that case, you just make sure that the key figures have the processing or the aggregation behavior as sum, not move. So in BW for HANA, you can change the aggregation behavior of the key figures. Even in standard ADSO, it's possible. So by default,
right?
by default, it will be move. Move means overwrite. Okay, you will not see the word overwrite anymore in BW for HANA. It has been replaced by the word move. So in the transformation, if you see move, you have to change it to summation. That's all. So you can do that in standard ADSO also.
Is move same as overwrite?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. So the process of COPA extraction is starts with the steps in source side first. So let me see if we have any operating concern. So okay, first let's list down the steps for COPA. Okay, so that you are aware at least. The first step is you create an operating concern. Okay, this is usually done by a functional team. Then you generate a data source based on the operating concern. Then you select the fields. Just like in RSA 6, we select the hide, unhide fields, all those things. So you select the fields which you want and save the data source. This is data sources done, created. Then what you will do is you will check in RSA 3 whether extraction is working fine or not. Then you will replicate to BW and then BW modeling you will do. That is in a nutshell overall steps to create a COPA based data source. So there is no standard data source as far as I know. The reason is because it is based on an operating concern. An operating concern name and the structure will differ from customer to customer. So there cannot be a standard data source provided because of the fact that an operating concern is the prerequisite for a data source, and operating concern is generated by the functional team. So let's open a new session in S4 HANA. And there, what you will have to do is, I forgot the transaction code to see. Anyone remembers the T code to see the operating concern? Must be starting with K, K something.
KEA0. KEA0.
KEA0?
Yeah.
Okay.
KE for characteristics, KEA6 for key figures, I suppose.
Okay. Yeah, let's see. Let's see. KEA you said, right? Let's see how many entries we have. Oh my god, that's too many. KEA operating concern. Yes, you're right. KEA0 is maintain operating concern. So we'll go to KEA0. Yes, so this is the operating concern. You can maintain an operating concern if it is not there, but let's see if an operating concern already exists. Oh yeah, a bunch of operating concern exists. So we have airline route profitability, SAL, we have best practices 8000, we have quick start template, etc. Right? So let's see the 8000 and we'll see if the status is active or not. Yeah, the status is active. So this is an accounting based operating concern, not a costing based operating concern. Okay. So the difference between costing based and accounting based profitability analysis is that in the costing based, you will have value fields and characteristics. Value fields meaning your key figures, your quantity key figure and your currency key figures, your values, revenue, like your revenue, cost of goods, sales, COGS, etc., which are used to basically understand the profit, how much profit you did from this particular segment of customers. Say, for example, you have customers from manufacturing industry, right? So that's a segment for you. So manufacturing industry segment, you did a profit of $100 million. From electronics segment customers, you did a profit of $20 million. From FMCG retail industry customers, you did a profit of $10 million. So you have to define different segments for the customers, right? So once you all that is a part of operating concern. So once you define the operating concern, you are actually defining your characteristics and your key figures and your segments for the customers, because you will identify the profit per segment. So that's what is called profitability segment in COPA. So costing based means there will be regular key figures. Regular key figures mean there will be a separate fields for the different key figures. For example, for revenue, for cost of goods sale, for production variances, all that will be a separate key figure values. And then characteristics, you will have product, customer, sales group, etc. So which will create your segment, which will basically make your segment. So that is costing based. Accounting based means connected to GL accounts and cost elements. So in SAP, we have a concept of cost elements and cost center, right? And cost center means basically an entity in your source where all the costs are posted. Like, for example, you have a HR department. HR department is a cost center. Why it's a cost center? Because you have to give salaries to your employees. You have to give benefits to your employees. So that's not something which you are earning as a profit. That's the money going out of your company to the employees, right? So that's a cost to the company. So they create cost centers. So say, for example, HR, one of the HR department is one of the cost centers. Now within HR department, you can have types of cost. Like, for example, the employee salary is one of the type of the cost. Then travel expense is another type of the cost within HR department. So those type of costs are called cost elements. Okay. So cost element is nothing but a GL account. It is basically a profit and loss GL account. Cost elements, when you post the cost on the cost element, it goes to a profit and loss GL account, P&L GL account. So GL account and cost element based hierarchy structure, if you follow and not use specific fields for key figures, but use cost elements and GL accounts for the key figures, then it is an accounting based profitability analysis, not costing based. So that in S4HANA, that has been improved a lot, because previously this had more granular capability to slice and dice and analyze your cost. Accounting based did not have that kind of granular capability, but with S4HANA, with Simple Finance, and now it is called just S4HANA Finance, the accounting based is also enhanced to give you the same granularity and sometimes even more granular analysis capability than costing based COPA. So that's why accounting based COPA is preferred over costing based COPA. So this is the operating concern. We have A000. It is a accounting based operating concern. And you can display the data structure. What are the different characteristics you have? So you have industry, sales district, customer group, bill to party, sold to party, country, material group, etc. Right? And since it's a accounting based, you will not see value fields here because they will come from the cost elements or GL accounts. So good. So we have operating concern. So
Devanshu, quick question.
Yes, tell me.
So there are like two, right? Like cost-based and account-based. Usually in the old classic approach, most of the companies use the cost-based, correct?
That's right. That paradigm has been shifting now to account-based.
Okay, because of this S4 HANA finance, simple finance,
Exactly.
and now everything is shifted to account based.
That's right.
So,
But costing based has not gone away. Costing based can coexist in S4 HANA with account based.
so when we use this account based, the extractor side, BW extraction, everything remains the same. So no change, correct?
No, that's not correct. That the base tables will change. So the tables from which you will extract data in a costing based COPA extractor versus an accounting based COPA extractor are different. They are not the same tables. So for the costing based COPA, usually the tables we use or the tables which are used, costing based COPA will have your C star table, C1, C2, C3, C4. Okay. C star and then name of your operating concern. Those are the 4 tables. C1 star, C2 star, C3 star, and C4 star. Okay. For accounting based COPA, now since the key figures are not separately created or no new fields are generated for the key figures, that's why the standard tables of S4 HANA are used. COEP, COEJ, COSS, and C4 star. The only common table between costing based and accounting based is the customer segment table, which is C4, because customer segment you need in both the sides, costing based and accounting based. So that's common. But your actual data, your planned data, your segment level data are not required for accounting based because all that is already there in the standard S4 tables. That's a major difference between costing based and accounting based.
Data sources are the same.
Yeah, data source generation process will remain the same.
Okay, thank you.
So
the same, right? 2LIS 03 UF BF UX.
No. Those are standard data sources. There is no standard data source for COPA. Please remember that. You have to generate the data source. I'll show you. So this is the operating concern, right? So once the operating concern is set, then using this operating concern, you will go to a transaction code called KEB0. Okay. In KEB0, you have to generate this data source manually. Okay. There is no standard data source for COPA. Please remember that. And the standard data source will usually start with 1_CO_PA. Then you can have your client number. Client number in our case is 200. So if you want client number to be a part of the COPA data source, you can keep client number. If you remove client number, ERK is operating concern. So your data source name will be 1_CO_PA A000. Okay, or you can just say _A000. That will be the name generated by you, not given by standard SAP. So if you want to create this data source, it will ask you what operating concern you want. So I want A000, for example. And it is what kind of profitability analysis? Accounting based, not costing based. So then you click on the creation. See the name. The name of the data source is the generated data source. One COPA, name of the operating concern. The generic delta operating concern is A000. Accounting based profitability analysis. You can give a short text. COPA data source. Okay, I'll just give some text. Okay, field name for partitioning. If you want the partitioning to be there, you can give the field name. Like for example, in your segment level, the partitioning will happen. You can give customer, you can give your fiscal year or whatever, company code, etc. But if you want to leave it blank, you can leave it blank also. And then what you have to do is go to info source, I think. Yeah, info source, info catalog. Warning, save anyway. Yeah, that's fine. Give the package, it will ask you for transport request. I'll give my transport request, which I have. Now it will come to the similar screen of RSA 6. Remember, so you will have selection here. Controlling area and period here is by default selected. So that is mandatory, you have to give that. So make sure no fields are hidden. Okay. Just save it. Data source created successfully. So this is the data source which we generated. Okay, so that's why there is no standard data source for COPA. At least I'm not aware of it. There may be given in S4HANA, but I don't think so, because logically, if you think, it is always based upon an operating concern. An operating concern can be anything, any name can be given by the customer. So once a data source is there, generated,
So-
you can click in RSA3.
So
RSA3, one second, please, hold on. So for the data source, you will just check. Let's see if we have, yeah. So data source is generated. See, it's asking you for those two mandatory selection fields. So we'll give controlling area. Let's see what controlling area is maintained in the base table. So as I told you, this is an accounting based COPA. So you will have base tables as COEP, COEJ. P is for plan, COEJ is for actuals, COSS is for cost elements, and C4 is for your segment definition. So let's look at COEP. Okay, number of entries. Do we have entries in this table? Okay, yes, we have entries. So we have, let's see what controlling area is maintained. Okay, so we have controlling area as 1701. What else we have? How many controlling areas? I just want to check. Okay, so we have 1701, 6000, 8000 IBM. Oh wow, nice controlling area. So then we can test with 8000. Let's see if 8000 exists or not. How many entries we have for the plan data. COEP is for plan data. Okay, so we have good data. So we can test for 8000. Okay, and fiscal period year, we can give 2020-001 maybe. Right, and let's do the extraction. 0 data record selected. Okay, so there may be, so maybe for this period it's not there, or maybe summarization levels are not created. So in COPA, there is another concept of summarization levels. Okay, so check in RSA3. If no data, then what you have to do is you have to create and populate summarization levels. Okay, summarization levels basically are to populate the segment tables and these tables if they are not yet there. Summarization levels. Usually, again, summarization levels is a functional team's responsibility, not your responsibility. But if it is not there, then you have to create, because sometimes summarization levels are not there, and because of that, the COPA data source does not extract data. For summarization levels, I think you can check it from, I don't know what is the T code for checking summarization levels. Anyone remembers the T code? Let's see. It definitely starts with K. All the T codes will start with K. KE, I think something, right? Okay, let's do one thing. KE.
KEDU.
KDU. Okay. Let's see what is KDU. Yes, you're right. Field summarization level, COPA. Okay, so let's go to KEDU quickly. Okay, to be operating concern, type of probability analysis is your account base. So I think the number is 2. Okay, and not refresh. I want to check the operating concern, not build the summarization level. I want to check whether summarization level exists or not. KED something will be there for sure. KED fill summarization levels. KED. Maintain KDV, I think maybe, I don't know. Let's check. View. So view. Okay, so we'll give operating concern name. Yeah, it's an account based, of course, 8000. Controlling area, it's asking, let's give the same controlling area we saw. Okay, there is one summarization level, which is a test summarization level active. I don't know if there are any characteristics maintained. Yeah, characteristics are maintained, 8000. Yeah, characteristics are maintained. Okay, so we have this summarization level. But now I think we have to build the summarization level using the KEDU, I think. But yeah, so this is the process. So check in RSA3, create, if it is not, data is not there, create and populate summarization level. This is KEDV/KEDU. Okay. Operating concern is KEA0 as we saw. Generate data source is KB0. Okay, so these are the steps for the COPA extractor. So once your extractor is ready, so as we saw, our extractor is ready, but the data is not getting fetched. So we have to check what's happening. But essentially, this is the steps. And once this COPA extractor is ready, then you go to BW, just replicate. Then it is the same process, exactly same process as any other data source. So that's what COPA, that's how COPA works. Yeah, sorry, somebody had a question. Please go ahead.
Yeah, thanks, Dipanshu. My question is like, can you open the data source, please, when you're creating?
Sure. So for that, you have to go to /n KEB0.
Yeah. If you go inside, right? Display.
One second. Okay, we'll display this.
Yeah.
Yes.
So just a basic question, I believe. I did not write this. So characteristics for the segment levels, right? Can you please tell us what is the difference here? Because I can see this is happening 4 times. If you come down.
4 times?
Yeah, this one. Characteristics for the segment level.
Where is it 4 times?
Characteristics from the line.
No, see, in COPA, we have characteristics from the segment table, characteristics at a segment level. The segment level means the customer segments at what level you want to maintain your segment level. Like plan, actual indicator, fiscal year is there, period is there, and version is there. So this is the level at which your segments will be evaluated at the time of profitability analysis. And characteristic segment table is basically your, I think, CE4. That is a segment definition. And then you have your unit of measurement value fields. Value fields key figures. These are unit of measurement, and these are currency fields. And that's it. See, in COPA, you have to remember there are basically 4 different types of data. One is your actual data, one is your planned data, one is your segment level data, and then fourth is your segment definition, CE4. Segment definition means what is the customer segment with what you have defined, and at what level you can analyze it. You can analyze it at a yearly level, period level, at a plan and actual level, and at a version level. So that's your segment level.
Yeah, okay, thanks, Dipanshu.
Okay. Yeah, so that's how COPA, I hope, I mean, we are not covering COPA end to end in this training, but this will give you the necessary, starting point to understand how COPA works. Okay, next question is, if we create a new baddie that is generic for a specific group of data source, how does it get identified as the one needed to be run? As I told you, if you implement a baddie, like if you create a fresh baddie implementation, you cannot just restrict it without writing any code or without writing any logic. It will not be restricted automatically for that few data sources. It will be called for every data source. Okay, all standard data sources. The way you can restrict it is with case statement. So you can say case I data source, when in these group, then you go ahead and run my code. Otherwise, you do nothing. So that's how you can restrict it with for certain data sources. Like for example, if we go to our class, let's look at the class So if you go to, I think source code, yeah, source code will have class. And we'll see the class which we created for the generic implementation, body implementation for data sources. There, if you see, in the main data transform, right, we don't have any case statements here. We are just executing this code for every data source. But after declaring the variables, okay, what you can say is, you can say case I underscore data source, sorry, I underscore data source. Okay, you can say when 2li star, say for example, then you do all this processing. So all 2li star will have this processing, and at the end of this, you can say when others, then you do nothing, come out, and then you can say end case. You have to put a logic. If you want to restrict that implementation only for few data sources, then you have to put the restriction. Okay, but by default, if you generate a new or you create a new implementation of the body, it will not be automatically restricted. You have to write a code explicitly to restrict it if you want. Or another way was the checking of that method, right? We are creating the method on the fly, and you can have another method first which checks whether the data source specific method exists. If it does not exist, then do nothing, and if it exists, then you execute the code. So you have to write the logic like that.
So Dipanshu, is it like even if we don't write this code in the standard body, what you were showing us, that body also, the one what we have created manually, will also get like implemented for all the data source extraction.
Whatever is activated, correct? Yes.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
So what is the difference between the standard and the new body what we are creating? Dipanshu, can't we use the standard body itself and enhance further?
What do you mean new body? We did not use any new body.
No,
We
I
created
mean,
a new implementation of the standard body.
yeah.
Right? So we are still using the standard body. You are creating a new implementation of the standard body. A body has to be implemented. So
Okay.
if you have a body in the system, that body you cannot use just as it is. You have to create a new implementation of the body. Body is just a definition. So if you create an implementation, that implementation will have a class. Body itself will not have any class. Body itself is just a interface, and that interface will have methods. That's all. When you create a fresh implementation, meaning you are actually creating the implementing class, and that class will implement the methods provided to you by the body interface. So don't think that we are creating a new implementation, meaning we are creating a new body. We are not creating a new body. We are creating an implementation of the existing body by the class. That is the main object of the implementation. The class. We are actually writing the class code, and there we are populating the data.
Yeah.
So,
Class is a reference, Devansh.
sorry?
Class is a reference then?
Class is a reference. What do you mean by that? I didn't understand.
I mean, like the class actually refer to the body, and then the data.
No, the implementation refers to the body.
Okay.
So when a data source is executed in the backend, every data source has a code which will check, is there a implementation of the body RSU5 SAPI body? If it finds an active implementation, it's going to go inside that implementation and it will try to execute the code. So the implementation is your reference to the body.
Debanshu, my question was, if we don't use this RSAU body and create a new one instead,
New baddie.
that be, yeah, new baddie at all completely? Will that be used in the data source extraction, or we have to do any changes for that to get
No,
like?
that will not be called by default by the data source.
Yes,
So
yeah,
what
that's
you'll have to
good.
do is, if you create a new baddie, completely fresh baddie, okay, and you want the data source to call that particular baddie, right?
Yeah, yeah,
So there, what you have to do is, you have to create a new implementation of this standard baddie, RSU5 SAPI baddie, and within that data transform code, you call your baddie. Did you get it? So see, every data source will call the standard baddie implementation. So if you don't want the code to be written there, you want to maintain a separate baddie altogether, you have to make sure that you have to first implement the standard baddie. And once you implement the standard baddie, within that implementation in the data transform method, don't write your code. Instead, just call your new baddie and the code will be executed from that baddie.
okay, okay.
Okay.
Is it similar to function module? It's totally different, Devanshu.
It's a little different than function module because now function module does not follow the class and method, the OOPS concept, right? But here you can have the OOPS concept of multiple methods within the same class. So in a way, some similarities are there for function module, but it's much more modularized than function module. Okay, the next question is, how do we maintain new methods why do we maintain new methods as static methods? Why not instance method? Because when we wrote the code in data transform method, default instance method, it was also working fine. Yes, you're right. You can define them as instance methods, the data source specific methods. There is no harm in that. But the reason I chose them to be a static method is that you can call the static method without initializing the object. See, instance method means you have to create an object. You have to first define a reference variable to the class, and then you have to instantiate the class with an object first, and then with the help of an object you can access those instance methods, right? But a class method does not need an instantiation of the class. That means it does not need an object. So you can still refer to the methods using the class and the equal to arrow symbol, right? You can access those methods without creating the instance of the class. That means without creating any object. So that's why I preferred a static method, and static methods are also available to every instance, right? Whatever instance you create, static methods are by default available to them. And second reason was, you don't have to create an object, you don't have to instantiate a class in order to access the static methods. That is the reason. But there is no technical restriction that you cannot create them as instance methods. Definitely you can, but static methods give you these benefits. Okay,
Thanks, Devanshu.
no problem. Okay, so I'll stop the session now.